All right. Here we are. Weekend wrap up time, folks, to go over everything that's happened at the weekend. I don't think anything different happened this weekend. I don't think anything big happened this weekend. I think everything that happened, you kind of probably could have guessed that it happened. It felt like one of those weekends. The way that some of the things happened in terms of like Chelsea getting a win over West Ham, which they should have, and how that comes around on Saturday night is very, very interesting. I think I'll start with that there. I was out in Glasgow and that was on the telly, and just watching that game and Chelsea being 2-0 down to West Ham, definitely a big blow and definitely unexpected. And I text Greg and Ali at half time and I said, this is where the new manager bounce now for Liam Rosenior may just be coming to an end. It's going to be interesting. Let's see what he does if they do eventually go on to lose this game. And he makes the changes at half time. And Chelsea are just a completely different side, and they ended up going to get the win, and it's ferocious at the end, with the red card and the fighting, and it's got a bit of bite and a bit of feist to it, which is really, really good to see. A very, very exciting Saturday night game, 5:30 kickoff for sure. And I think I just wanted to say, credit to him there, because that was a moment where he could have really crumbled, and I think that was a real test of who he is and who he could be moving forwards as a manager, not knowing a ton about him, not really seeing his teams play too much before this. And obviously, a Chelsea job is a big job. You got a lot of eyes on you. You've got to do what you've got to do, and you've got to get wins under your belt. And he's won 6 out of 7 just with a loss to Arsenal in the first round of the League Cup. So you can just have to hold your hands up and say well done to him. And I think the main thing I want to talk about this weekend is time for managers, and in the moment, and the reality of the fact of, I always do say you need to continue to win, and you do need to continue to win in a sport that is just continuously week to week, and everything's big and everything's massive, and the narrative is constantly changing and turning, and you've got platforms like this, YouTube and Twitter and TalkSport and everything now, Sky Sports News 24 hours a day. There's always just so many people talking shit basically about you. And if you're winning, it's all great. But when you're not winning games, it's definitely a difficult one, and it's really, 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 really hard for managers. The reality, the fact of like coming in and actually getting to do what you want to do, and doing a good job nowadays, it's just so difficult. And I think the big test for them comes when things aren't going rosy in the garden. We've seen that this season with Arne Slot at Liverpool. I want to see, who are you? I've never called for Slot to be sacked. I've kind of started to waver one way or another, but I want to see who you are when the chips are down, because that for me is what really makes a person, which really makes a manager. And Rosenior did that. The chips were down, things were against him. It was not a result that should be happening for them, and he manages to go and turn it around. And all I can say is fair play and fair credit to him. And I think for Chelsea, they don't look that kind of robotic-y, passing around kind of Enzo Maresca. You can see those definite patterns of play and everything like that he wants to try and do. They feel a little bit more free. It feels a little bit more obvious in terms of what they're trying to do with the strength of the players that they're using. Everyone's playing to their strengths. They look happier. The Chelsea team do look happier. And again, look, winning 6 out of 7 games is going to do that for you, don't get me wrong, but it's not like they were completely struggling under Maresca or anything like that. They just look happier. They look a bit freer. And again, is it another manager? United go and get that win on today, 3-2 against Fulham in a bit of a mad game. But again, United, I hate to say it, kind of enjoyable to watch again. There's a lot of freedom in the Bruno Fernandes and Cunha and Mbuemo, and just how they release and they go forwards, and again, just looking like the weight's off the shoulders. They're playing with a smile on their face, and there's a lot to be said about that. And are we just starting to see that really, really creep in and hopefully be what football does move towards, and what these managers are doing? And I think at the end of the day, football is about, managing the game, what's happening in the moment, and it's not so much about the stubbornness of just sticking to what you want to do. And Rosenior does that on Saturday night. And then rolls into 8 o'clock with Liverpool and Newcastle. I was just checking that on my phone because I was at a concert at King Tut's, so I wasn't able to watch it. And I seen Liverpool go 1-0 down, and you're thinking, oh, Jesus Christ, man. Like, come on. After another good performance in week in Europe, surely not again. Surely not going to lose again. And they come roaring back, and it's in big part thanks to Hugo Ekitike, and it's a big part in thanks to Florian Wirtz. And again, speaking about, time, I said when you come in like Wirtz for 120 million and Ekitike, and it's Liverpool and where Liverpool have been at in the kind of last 5 years or so under Jurgen Klopp, the revival of the club being at the top end, you're getting scrutinised, you are getting heavily scrutinised, and you do have to hit the ground running. And the reality of the fact is, it's not that easy all the time for people. If we've gone and got new jobs and you get new relationships or you move to a new country, like, it takes time to bed in, and it takes a good few months, sometimes 6-7 months to bed in. And I'm not saying that that's fair or that should be allowed. Again, I think players should hit the ground running, and I think managers need to hit the ground running. But it's just not the reality of life, is it? And sometimes it does work like that, but other times it doesn't. Ekitike, I think, has been a shining light for Liverpool in terms of the sign-ins. Liam Rosenior is really starting to come to the forefront now. That's the first kind of big game where he's really stood up, showed up, got an assist, got a goal, been a part of it, and he's really starting to cook in there. And him and Salah look like they're getting a relationship. Him and Ekitike are getting a relationship. And, Isak's sitting there on the bench, and you can ask why Liverpool went and got Isak, and I think it's because Slot's been, really big on having two world-class players for every position. And I think there's a world where they both do play with each other at the same time in the future. We've seen that Man United team of like Ronaldo, Tevez, Rooney, Berbatov. It's a lot of big names. It's a lot of world-class strikers in there. But, they showed it can work, and I do think that can work for Liverpool. But just Ekitike, it's, all over the internet, and all the talk about the goals and how he plays is Fernando Torres-esque. He's got the same build to him, doesn't he? He's that kind of tall, like, kind of square built, long arms, just the way he moves. His finish for the second goal is just absolutely fantastic. It really is. Even the first goal, just a nick in front. It's a great little bit of play from Wirtz, who again is smiling, having a smile on his face and playing. And Liverpool look like from match of the day and the highlights and everything. Again, after going 1-0 down, just playing with a bit of freedom again, going forward, using the Anfield crowd, enjoying it. And again, another thing about being a manager is understanding the club you're at. And I don't think Arne Slot's been great at understanding Anfield and how to harness it and use it as a secret weapon, and it's something that he can get better at, no doubt. But huge again for Liverpool, not good for Newcastle. Konate gets a goal right at the end there. You can't write that. You cannot write that with regards to his dad passing and him coming back and starting and playing, and he gets a goal. That's one of those where you kind of believe in something more, something beyond what is life there for me. Really, really good to see, and that touched me a lot with obviously everything I've been through in the last, just coming up to close-ish to a year of losing my dad, so I get it, and fair play to him. And, you can say, we say a lot of times, and a lot of people say, the footballers are on this big money and like go out there and play. And obviously for Liverpool after the death of Jota and stuff, it just, grief doesn't work like that. Konate's not had a good season, and if his dad's been ill and stuff like that, that says to why. But we don't look at it like that from a football fan point of view, do we? We don't take the human connection in, and I think that's a real con about sport and about football. Certainly, I think in the UK, Scotland, and England, I don't know what it's like in Europe if they are the same, but we don't look at them as humans. We look at them as celebrities now, and you can say, "Well, that's what you do," and that's part of the gig, that's part of the job nowadays. All right, okay, but he is human, so very well done to him. I felt very happy for him, and obviously very happy for Liverpool. And it's a poor defeat for Newcastle and Eddie Howe, but always good to get one over on them after kind of the recent times of the whole Isak saga and everything like that. And that wrapped up Saturday night. Arsenal win very, very comfortably away to Leeds, get themselves right back on track. I didn't think they would. I predicted that to be 2-0, but I just thought Arsenal would get back on track, and it's very, very comfortable. It's a big win, and then it put pressure on City and Villa today on Sunday to go and get something, and Villa drop points at home to Brentford. Not good for them, with Brentford being down to 10 men. Villa just starting to slowly slide and get pulled back into the rest of the pack. Man United, Liverpool and Chelsea slowly chasing them down. And Man City, I mean, that was just two halves of Man City this season. They probably should be at least 3 up at halftime. They're not. They're cruising. It's easy. The atmosphere was weird. I think Gary Neville said that on commentary at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It just felt like a weird vibe. Spurs just felt like, that really felt like to me in the first 45, like, this is Thomas Frank gone, isn't it? This is Thomas Frank gone, absolutely. And all of a sudden they come roaring back, and it's again, City can just be a bit all over the place. It's a bit basketball case. They don't play that dictating possession-based style. Pep has evolved, and he's moved on, and he's trying to work out what's going on and what the next phase is and get this team ready for it. And yeah, it's just Jekyll and Hyde for Manchester City this morning. You look at guys like Kushinov in there, the injuries and stuff like that, and it's just not quite that same ferociousness, that same steel, and ultimately it's what's going to cost them for the title. I just don't see Arsenal going to bottle it at all. those question marks after the last couple of games and everything, but I just always did feel that they would get something against like Leeds, and they're putting away the teams they should put away, and ultimately it's going to be enough for them to win the league, and I think City will just continue to be hot and cold, and yeah, not good enough. Semenyo again on the score sheet, what a signing he's been, absolutely fantastic. Haaland should really at least have one in the first half where he loops over the keeper, he should do a lot better. But Spurs saved Thomas Frank, and again, talking about time and management and pressure on you. Yeah, look at that Spurs squad, and I know there's a few injuries as well with Kuleveski and Madison, who obviously make that team better. But I don't think those guys are like absolutely top class amazing. I don't think any of them getting like Arsenal's team, City's team, Chelsea's team, maybe even Man United's team now that they've strengthened the attack. You could even maybe say maybe not even Newcastle, with like Gordon when he's on it. It's his first goal in 32 games. But it's just not it's not a great squad. It really isn't. I look around that Spurs squad and I think that's poor. When the team dropped, I thought, Jesus, that's should be a humping today for them. They should get pumped. And the question is, can Thomas Frank turn it around, and is he going to have the time, and is he going to be allowed to put his fingerprints on the team? But where they are in the league isn't great. Europe is probably saving him, showing that he can do well there. It's his first time. I do think he needs to adapt a little bit more. It feels really flat there, doesn't it? I think that's a good boost in football. As I said, it's a week-to-week basis, and it can change really quickly, and everything can happen like that. But just feels like he needs to get a little bit of life going there for Spurs. I think that if he continues on the trajectory he's on, when and if they get knocked out of Europe and the league form is doing poor, I think that's when the real questions will be asked of him. It's just not been great, but then, hampered with injuries. It's part of the game. I know that, but the reality of the fact is, I think building a squad there for him is something he really needs to do. I think a lot of work needs done at Spurs. I like Conor Gallagher coming in. I've always liked him. I would love to have had him at Liverpool. And so he saves himself there. He does save himself there. What else have we got? That's about it in terms of the Premier League games. Scotland, Hearts, big win away at Dundee United, 3-0. Not a nice night. Away, tough place to go. Get the win. Put the pressure on Celtic and Rangers today. Rangers playing away at Hibs, who are solid. Hibs love a draw, by the way. It's another draw for Hibs. They've lost Kieran Bowery, a Scottish talent, off to Italy again. And, Hearts get to keep the gap to 6. Celtic win as far as I'm aware. I'm pretty sure Celtic, correct me if I'm wrong on that, they were at least 2-0 up when I looked towards the end of the game on Falkirk. So the gap stays at 6 for Hearts. It doesn't get close to 4, and they'll take that. That's 2 points gained for them this weekend. And that momentum just keeps going for Hearts there. So, like I say, I don't think there's too much more to go into about that. Again, appreciate as always for you guys watching this, subscribers. You get this video first. For everyone that's interacted on the video that is going crazy right now on the YouTube channel about me looking at Guillaume Balhae's tweet about Arsenal, thank you so much for it. Hope you guys like these videos. They go to subscribers first. We're trying to get 500 subscribers on this YouTube channel so I can build this platform and you guys get early access and exclusive videos on YouTube. Become a member of this channel if you like it and everything that's going on. So I hope you've all had a good weekend. I hope by the time you hear this, it'll be Monday morning. You've started off your week right. I hope life's good. Get cracking on with it. Get motivated. It's Monday. Start the week off strong, all right? And until the next one, have a good one. Peace.